All right. Great day, everybody. We are live. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Seeds of Abundance. I'm very grateful to be here today. As always, Matthew Britt coming at you from Ottawa, Ontario. And I've got a gentleman on the line with us today here. We met online through a social network called Facebook, as I met a bunch of you use. We connected through a group, the network marketing industry, and we just became fast friends, communicated quite a bit through chat there, and then I just invited him to join us on the show. So I'm excited to get into this interview with him. Michael, I don't know 100% how to say your last name, so I won't.
That's okay.
Do that.
Michael Michaelides. That's okay.
Michaelides. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to throw it out there incorrectly. So Michael Michaelides, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to the Seeds of Abundance show. Why don't we start by just letting everybody know a little bit about you, some of your professional accolades and where they can find you.
Yeah, so, I'm a professional golfer. If you look at my profile, it would say professional golfer, amateur homesteader. So, my primary place is in upstate New York, and I got a place in Florida as well. So I've been a professional golfer for 25 years. Played the Nike Tour for a bit, played the Hooters Tour, did the Big Break on the Golf Channel, been doing World Long Drive for 15-ish years. Been doing charity golf fundraising for 10. So that's pretty much what I do now for the most part is, charities pay me to kind of come out, fundraise for them. I'll put on a show, hit shots, do a little contest like where people can win a trip or a simulator or a golf cart or whatever they want. So it's pretty fun. Like it's pretty rewarding, and then I think just like everybody in, 2020, I think everybody's kind of eyes, or lives kind of took a weird turn, it just, the whole world did. And kind of, I don't know, maybe shook me up a little bit to where I was like, okay, I need to get out of the city, which is where I was living at the time, and decided to get a homestead and do a couple things. And now, in addition to my sports business with golf and everything else, I actually have a wellness company, which we offer different products. We have, low end, high end, but all the products are holistic. All the products, there's no chemicals, none of that stuff. And they really do make a difference. I mean, we have like hundreds of thousands of testimonials and, the companies have been in business anywhere from 20 to 50 years. So they're solid. And yeah, I just try to help people as much as possible. I mean, it's just, what I can do, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic, man. And you're, focusing on the contribution, the value you can add to the lives of other people. And that's always very commendable.
Yeah. Now, I think it's just quality of life, right? I mean, that's, that's the thing, right? I mean, I when you start going down the rabbit hole a little bit, you start seeing, like what's, or how food is made or processed and stuff like that. And, even the stuff with, how now like a lot of water gets contaminated and all this stuff, it's a shame, it's a shame. And people are feeling chronically ill. A lot of people, they have either aches or pains or they get headaches or they do this or that, and they don't really understand why. And it's really no fault of their own. It's not even that they're even, necessarily even eating that bad or thinking they are. It's just that the fact is a lot of the regulations and stuff, they are not full disclosure. Like, for something to be organic, it doesn't have to be 100% organic. You know what I mean? So like, all it has to be is a certain percentage, and that's the thing. And people don't realize that. And these things are really causing some issues with inflammation, with parasites, and stuff like that. So I just try to help people. I mean, at 46, and doing what I do, whether it's on the golf course or whether it's at home, I'm constantly active, and I've been pain free the last 18 months. Well, maybe a little, right about there. And, I made a conscious effort to change everything, and that's all I want to do. I just want to help people if I can.
Yeah, and you can. As a professional athlete, you automatically get some accolades for that and respect, and people will listen. And you having put in the work yourself to make it to those ranks, it's not easy to become a pro athlete in any sport at all. Golf is fucking hard, right? It's a lot of practice. I love playing golf, but it's one of those things where precision in your movement is so important. And
Yep.
for you to be able to put in that effort to get you to that place, you're going to have big ability to make positive impact in the lives of other people. So congratulations to
So
you on that. I wanted to touch on what it took for you to become a professional golfer, because I think it's really important for people to relate on how the dedication towards their craft, whether that be in sport or being a great parent or being an entrepreneur or whatever it is they want to excel at, there's key fundamentals that are there. So I'd love to hear from you on what it took for you, what you believe some of the important pieces are in order for people to excel in life,
yep.
and some of your thoughts.
So yeah, so you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, no matter really what you're looking to do, whether it's being a professional athlete or being an entrepreneur or anything like that, anything at least that I feel is worthwhile doing is going to take a lot of dedication, right? And I don't think people really realize that as much, right? So being a professional golfer, I mean, in my 20s, I had gotten married young, my first marriage. Got married about when I was 24. And by the time I was 31, we were divorced. It just took a toll. Like I was away a lot, right? I was living out of my suitcase for most of the year. I'd be gone, 35, sometimes 40 weeks a year, stuff like that. I mean, that's a lot of time to be away. Um, there are times and golf is a different kind of sport in terms of there really are no guarantees. Like you don't get a signing bonus. You don't get, if you miss the cut or you have a bad day, you still don't get paid. So you're really kind of fighting out there, like for everything. And it's feast or famine to a degree. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Like there are times that, you're actually staying at a hotel where you could sleep in a bed and maybe go get a steak for dinner. And then there are other days that you are sleeping in your car or at like the YMCA or something, and a box of or a sleeve of those Ritz crackers is like your meal. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's cheap, right? I mean, it's like, so that is the tough part, right? Of doing that. And then on top of that, to try to keep your body in peak shape, to try to actually practice and do things makes it a little tough, right? You definitely need a support system. Mentally, you need to be very, very determined and just, you have to embrace the suck, right? You have to you're going to get knocked down. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to golf over other sports, right? Like I played every sport as a kid, like growing up. Like I played baseball, basketball, football, tennis, even hockey. I mean, I guess you can call it playing. I don't know. I mean, I kind of more was like the goon, I guess. So, at almost 6'4" and like 270. So I don't know if you can really call it playing, but we'll go with that. And the thing is what attracted me to the sport was that number one, my size didn't necessarily just give me an overwhelming advantage, right? And number two, it was so mental and so if I got beat, I had nobody to blame but myself, right? That's just on me. If I screw up, I screw up, right? And if I win or do good, then I win. And again, it's on me, right? So you have to embrace the pressure. You have to embrace the fire. Like you don't have a choice, right? If there's even a seed of doubt, um, yeah, it's gonna be tough. Like I remember getting cast for the big break, and there was like 10,000 applicants or something like that as a show on the Golf Channel, reality show. I mean, they don't. I wish they would bring it back. I thought it was awesome. And the producer, I'll never forget it. So I go to a golf course in Virginia. I don't even think it's there anymore. It was Manor, and they had a Tar Heel Tour event there. So I played the course, and I had coached when I was coaching college golf. I had coached there, so I knew the course. And I went there. They wanted me to hit some shots. That was no problem. I hit some shots. I'm like, okay, here's a fade, here's a draw, here's this, here's that. No big deal. And then the producer, sits down and he goes, okay, so why should you be on the show? Right. And my answer is very simple. I was like, you're not going to have enough tape in that thing for that answer. And he just was like, yep. you're gonna be perfect. Like, because you need to have that confidence. Now,
Yeah.
I will say there is a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? Most athletes, there is a very fine line that they walk between that. Um, and I think when you're younger, it probably is more arrogance than confidence. And then as you get older, it's kind of opposite. It becomes more confidence, a little more humility, and then less arrogance, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of life, right? Like in your 20s, you feel like you're invincible. It doesn't matter what you're going to do. And that was really it. Like I turned pro the day I graduated college. I graduated with 3 business degrees. I wrote my letter to, like the PGA and the USGA, and I'm like, I'm turning pro. I'm giving up my amateur status, whatever. And the first year or so of playing events, it was a huge smack in the face. I thought I was going to go in there and light it up and just whoop on everybody, and yeah, that that did not happen. So
Other way around.
yeah, it was definitely a wake-up call, you know what I mean? And but again, I think anything you do, and I've been I've had my own businesses for 25 years. I've had a pizzeria, I've had a construction company. I've done some other stuff in addition to the golf, right? Because I just can't kind of stay still. I love kind of working with my hands. I mean, I used to play with Tonka trucks when I was younger, and now, when you get to jump in a real life Tonka truck, whether it's an excavator or a skid steer or a loader or something, I mean, who doesn't want to do that, right? So I've always had that mindset. Like there are just times you're going to get knocked down. Even when I got divorced, you get divorced, you kind of get knocked down, you lose a lot of stuff, but it doesn't matter. You just keep pushing. And I think that if you're going to be successful, no matter how you define it, right? Whether you define it by making money or whether you define it by having rich relationships, whether you define it by, with your kids, whatever, every single thing you do in your life is you're going to need some kind of determination because you're going to get knocked down. It's what's going to happen. I mean, life's messy. Everybody wants to sit there and pretend like, you look on Instagram and social media and people make it like it's like a sitcom. You know what I mean? And it's not, right? It's not. Like life is just messy, and you don't see the bad most of the time, right? Everybody posts their wins, but they don't post their losses, nor should they. Nor should they. Like, take the loss in private. Like that's what you should do. You know what I mean? But then you shouldn't let that stop you. And you should come back and then post the win. That's really, to me, I think probably the most important thing is just mindset.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And 100% of my belief around the value of sports ties into that.
Yep.
If you're going to excel in any sport, you have to be willing to fail and make mistakes and get your ass back up because you got another shift to play.
Right. And, if you look at golf too, like more than any other sport, right? Like, like a good winning percentage, like, you watch these teams like, NBA, right? Good winning percentage might be, 70%, right? 80%, something like that, right? A good winning percentage, in baseball might be, 60 or 70%. A good winning percentage in any of these sports, right? In golf, I mean, if you win 5% of the time, right? Just 5, you're a Hall of Famer. Like you lose so much more in golf. I mean, and that's really what it is. Like because everybody, growing up in like the Tiger era, again, I'm 46, he's 48, I think. He's gonna be 49. So growing up in the Tiger era, like people took it for granted, like, this guy just dominated, like he was that good, right? But that doesn't happen. I mean, legitimately, if you win in golf, even 2 or 3% of the time, you're, like you're awesome.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So did you have specific things that you did, practices, routines you got established for yourself to ensure you had proper mindset? And that's one question. Then 2 would be, what did you utilize to develop that mindset?
So that's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily I had anything in place necessarily to develop the mindset. I mean, early on, I mean, I played sports from a really young age, right? And my parents, especially my dad, like my dad really didn't hold back. Like I was, at 13 or 12, I mean, I'll never forget, like there was a traveling baseball team. And at 12 years old, I was playing with 16-year-olds, right? So I was the youngest kid and I was always quote unquote overmatched, right? But somehow I still managed to hold my own and excel and do whatever. So, yeah, like my dad kind of just threw me into the fire a lot of times. Like it was like, all right, like you're gonna play with these guys and they're bigger and they're stronger and they're faster and oh well, like figure it out, and that was the thing. So for me, um, he didn't shy away from, or he didn't try to like necessarily like protect me, I guess. Like what you see now, it was more let's push him and see what happens, right? Which I
Give
don't.
you the space to develop yourself instead of always trying to protect.
Yeah, like he was just like, like I mean, there were times I'd be on the field because a lot of times he would either be a coach or assistant coach or something like that, and there were times that it didn't really matter the sport, but that I would be, a little kind of nervous or maybe even a little scared, depending, right? When I was younger. And, he's like, okay, so, you're not going to quit, like that's not what you do. You're not going to quit. So what are you going to do? You got to go in, and figure it out, right? You got to go in and face it. You don't have a choice. I remember when I was playing baseball, I took a really nasty hop because now like these little league fields, a lot of them are like so manicured and whatever. But 30 years ago, right, or like 40 years ago, right, they were, like the fields were like crap, right? I mean, there was like stones and rock, like it was just so you never kind of knew if you were going to get a really bad hop or something like that, right? So I was playing third base and I mean, I just got lit up, man. My bell got rung. Like, it was kid hit, just a bullet, right? And it was like a one hopper, and I don't know what it hit, but it kind of changed direction a little bit, caught me in the face. That was it, right? Um, so right after that, man, I mean, like I said, definitely rung my bell. I was like really not too fond or really looking forward to kind of jumping back into third base,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and my dad really didn't say anything that game. Like, I kind of was like shading back a little bit. He could tell I was being apprehensive. But like next practice, like he was like just whipping, one hoppers, right? And he's like, I don't care, like block it, do whatever you got to do. And I mean, like I got home, like even my mom was like, what'd you do to him? Like I got home and like I was like black and blue all over, you know what I mean? From like just, balls hitting my chest or whatever else.
Yeah.
But, um, I wasn't scared of it after that, right? Like that's the thing. So, mindset wise, it was that. But he was also great where if, you know, I took a loss or something happened, um, he was never like, it was never like, oh, you're a piece of shit or something, or you're worthless or whatever. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, it happens. Like, that's just what happens. Like, some days you win and some days you lose, and that's what happens, But you gritted it out. You were determined. You were in there. You were fighting, and that's what's important, right? And he didn't shield me from the fact that life was going to knock me down. He didn't shield me from the fact that um, things aren't always going to go your way, and it didn't matter. He's like, so what are you gonna do? And my grandfather was like that too. So I was pretty fortunate, my uncle too. Like I was pretty fortunate. I had really, really good support system there, um, that didn't protect me, but that also uh, was pretty rational about.
Oh, looks like we got Michael bumped here for a second. Wonder what went on there. All right. Well, we'll just keep going here. What he's saying there about giving people the space to fail and make mistakes and get knocked down and then not be protected and put in a position where they have to deal with those failures really builds character. The truth of the matter today is we tell children a lot of times what they are. We tell them they're smart or they're brilliant or you're so great at this thing, and we don't encourage effort enough and pushing people
Hey,
on the.
there we go.
Hey buddy, welcome back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
Why can't I hear you?
check.
Matt,
Yeah,
can you
check. I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me?
can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know why I can't hear you though. That's weird.
You have
Somebody called,
oh,
right? Somebody called and then the phone went crazy. I don't know why. But I don't have Bluetooth or anything like that. So I'm trying to figure out why I can't hear you.
all right. Well, what I was.
Oh, there we go.
Got me
Perfect.
back.
Yeah,
All right.
it
What
was
I was
weird.
saying as you
Somebody called and
oh.
then like I just hit decline and then for some reason the screen went blank. I was like, what the hell? Sorry.
All good. Welcome back, brother. And I was just saying, as you bumped off there, about how we're as parents, or you see parents dealing with children, there's so often a tone of "you're so smart, you're so great at this thing,"
Right.
and not enough around. I noticed how hard you worked.
Right.
Right? Commending the hard work instead of labeling them as something. And there's actually now been a lot of research into that. And what they have found is that the people who are consistently told they are so something, they're so good, they're so smart, they're brilliant, whatever it
Right.
is, and you compare that with the ones who are not told that, but instead consistently complimented and reminded about how hard they work and the effort they put in, and how like those two contrasting differences, what happens when they're actually put up to a test, the person who's been told that there's something, they'll often avoid the thing that challenges them.
Right.
They won't work at it because it now goes against what they've been conditioned to believe in that particular situation. They no longer feel smart at this challenging problem.
Yep.
And instead of working at it, they'll often avoid it. Now, that's a general statement, but overall, it's been proven to be significantly more effective to always be encouraging the work ethic
Right.
and the reward around hard work, or consistently pushing despite making mistakes or getting knocked down, continuing to drive forward is always going to be a better payoff
Yep.
in the long run for our children. And it translates the same into adults. When you're coaching adults, if you're telling them that they're so talented, you're so good at golf or whatever it is, as soon as the test comes up and they don't perform as well, it shakes them
Yep.
big time.
Yep.
But instead, you're constantly encouraging that hard work and effort and resiliency and motivation, and keep practicing, keep doing it. You're going to get it. They'll do that. And they'll then, in the challenging times, they'll remember those things and push through. They'll get back up after being knocked down. And
Yep.
what a difference maker it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's I've always been a pretty decent athlete, I think. I mean, looking back on what I used to play and stuff like that. I mean, I kind of was like, I always started, like, I wasn't like a guy that came off the bench. I wasn't, anything like that. I mean, teams wanted me. I mean, it didn't matter. But the thing is, at the end of the day, like, win, lose, or draw, like, they just knew I was going to, fight till I just can't fight anymore. Right. Like, that's really what it was. Like, that's just what it came down to, and that's certainly where the focus was, um, I guess in my house, I mean, even now, like when I take on new challenges and stuff like that, I mean, whether I necessarily know how to do it or not, I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. I mean, it may take me two tries, right, or three, or whatever. I mean, that's happened.
Yes.
I mean, when I got, even now, like with the homestead, like that kind of, I kind of like, I don't even know if you can see it, but like I got like right here, like my nose is like really like over here, it's like really pink, like raw. Um, because I was doing some stuff around the homestead. I was limbing some trees and stuff like that, and everything. And I thought I was good. I mean, I wouldn't say I got cocky, but I definitely was like feeling good, like I was, doing what I got to do, and maybe, I mean, I was making a good cut, or so I thought. And one of the branches caught the chain, right? Like when it broke, it just happened to catch the chain and pulled me down, and I landed literally in a like a wood pile, right? Um, I mean, I didn't get hurt really, but kind of shook me up a bit, and I was like, okay, gave you a little more respect for like what it is, but that's the reality, right? Like, there's things that just kind of happen, and you're like, okay, and you just hopefully keep pushing and keep going through it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it again, and hopefully I don't fall in a wood pile this time. I don't know. I mean,
So transitioning from golf and professional sports, moving into entrepreneurship and business, what kind of things did you take from the sport life that you're able to apply into business? And obviously, you got 3 business degrees, so you learn a lot in school. But once you take those degrees and you strip those away and you actually get into the trenches building a
yeah.
business, it's very different, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, school is, I mean, it is what it is, right? But like, yeah, I mean, it's totally, different for the most part. I mean, I got lucky. Uh, the professor that I had for most of my classes, for the majority of my classes, I would say, he actually was still, um, like in the workforce at a pretty high level, right? With if I remember correctly, I think it was Verizon or whatever. So a lot of the stuff we did was literally all real world stuff, which was great. But having your own business, having your own brand, stuff like that, yeah, it's definitely way different. You know what I mean? I mean, I think there's going to be there. That there's going to be challenges, right?
Yeah.
People have to kind of see you not just as an athlete anymore. They got to kind of see you as a little more of a well-rounded figure, like like you actually do know what you're talking about, right? Because people do attach a certain level of respect and trust based on maybe your performance as an athlete,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
but that could be easily shaken if you don't really understand what you're discussing or talking about. You know what I mean? So fortunately, I mean, I'm one of those guys that, like, everything I dive into, I dive in 110%. So I mean, whether it's reading a bunch of material, whether it's understanding all the stuff, I mean, really getting to the core of what I'm doing so that I can answer those questions. And when you're prepared, just like in sports, when you're prepared, whether it's practice, whether it's self growth, whether it's just answering technical questions, it definitely helps your success, right?
Mhm.
So preparation in both, whether it's sports or business, is key. Being honest about things are key in both. In sports, you have to be honest about what your ability is and what it isn't, and know where you have to put the work in. And the same thing with business. When you look at your business, you got to know, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, and can I strengthen my weaknesses? Can I be better? Like, I know for me, one of the challenges, huge challenge for me, is on some level social media, right? Like, I'm not a huge um, like TikTok guy, or I don't really make a lot of reels, or I don't really do a lot of like the video stuff.
Mhm.
And that kind of seems to be where social media is kind of transitioned to, which is with the algorithms and getting more clicks and stuff like that. So like, I just have to get better at it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, right? If I want to be a little more successful, I have to do it. I think sports, you deal with a lot of rejection, and in business, you deal with a lot of rejection too. I mean, there are going to be people that look at what I do and what I sell, and they're either not going to believe it, or They're going to, come over what we call like pain points. You know what I mean? Because there's always going to be an excuse, right? Well, I'd love to do it, but I just found out, I got to buy this, for whatever, right? Or, I'd love to do it, but, the economy is kind of this right now. Or I'd love to do it, but I don't really have the time. Or, well, yeah, I mean, everybody faces those challenges. I mean, entrepreneurs are some of the busiest people on the planet, right? So it's either you're going to make an excuse or you're going to have a solution, right? And you're going to just do it. Like, that's just what it comes down to. Like, because people make time for what they want to make time for. You know what I mean? I mean, that hour that you were on the couch or 2 hours that you were on the couch watching Netflix, you could start a business, right?
Absolutely. I love
So,
Jim Jones' quote around that. The same wind blows on us all.
yeah, I mean, it's there's so many similarities like between sports and life, and it sucks to see sports kind of have come to like the state that they have, because you're really doing a disservice to people. I mean, when I coached college, the joke was, that coach wasn't, like my team or in my office and stuff. It wasn't a quote unquote safe space. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I had a kid one time, he hit a shot and, we're in a tournament and I'm like, wow, and he's like, what? I'm like, that was horrible, and he's like, and, I think it kind of took him aback a little bit. Right. And after the round, he's like, can we talk? I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, I don't really think that was productive. I'm like, really? I was like, what do you want me to say? You want me to lie to you? I mean, that sucked. Like, I don't even know how to say it. Like I said, it was so bad. I said, you're a Division I athlete. I said, so I gave him the scenario. I said, here's a scenario, right? I said, I'll give you the scenario as if it was your teammate. Okay. And I gave him a scenario. And I said, this is what he did. This is this. This is this. So what did you think? And he goes, yeah, I think that sucked. I said, exactly. So now what do you think? And he goes, yeah. He goes, okay, yeah, you're right. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just saying, like, damn, like I was actually shocked. You're a Division I athlete. I didn't think you were going to do that. Sorry, and so I think you got to really be honest with yourself and stuff like that instead of sugarcoating everything. But hopefully we're going to see people getting back to that. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it's time to toughen up.
Yeah.
Reality is we can't be coddling our children the way things have been done over the past while here. It creates weak men, creates weak women. And unfortunately, we're in a position right now where people aren't standing up for themselves. They're tuned out of what's going on with the governments. They're tuned out of what's going on in their local city councils. And because of that, these people who are power hungry most of the time in government positions, they like being in power. So they go and they make decisions based on what they want, not what you want. They could give a shit what you want because you're not there standing up for yourself. You're not participating in it. And it's instead, hey, trust me, lying politician, right? We always get caught lying. We say what we need to say to get you to back us. But then as soon as it comes time for the truth, right, the rubber to hit the road, so to speak, I'm doing whatever people are pushing on me who are actually engaged and involved in this. And most of the time, it's big corporations, lobbyists, that kind of thing that are advancing agendas. And unfortunately, because we don't have the backbone the same way anymore, we're in this position we're in right now.
Well, I think it's interesting because, like, most of the people, so people that power would suit them, right? Ironically, don't want it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing. Like, so there's a show, Meat Eater, with Steve Riddell. It's like a hunting show, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking, I don't remember if it was Idaho or Iowa, but he was talking to this guy. They were going pheasant hunting, and he was talking to this politician. They went hunting together, right? And he was at the state level, and he said, and Steve goes, you've been successful in bringing the population back. Like, the population was really low, and now you've been successful in these environmental efforts in bringing the population back so hunters and people can enjoy this pastime. And he goes, would you ever think about going to Washington or maybe taking the next step? And he goes, no. He goes, I did what I was supposed to do. He goes, like, I had a business, I put it on hold, I saw a need in my area, right? And I thought I could tackle it. I did it. We did, it was successful, and that's it. I'm good. I did my time, and I'm going back to, he goes, I have no desire to go on a federal level and try and tell people what to do or anything like that, or, whatever. He's like, so it's amazing to see that. Right. And then meanwhile, you have these people that are career politicians that are, in there for 40 plus years. Right. And the weird part about it for me, right. So the two things I can never understand in the general population, okay, and I don't know why nobody really talks about this, but so first off, people truly believe that someone, which is a politician, can get, or the same person can get them out of the situation or solve the situation that they've created, right? Like, that's number one. Okay. Number two is, ironically, the people that complain the most in terms of, like, that are like, oh my God, if this guy gets in power, he's going to do this. And this guy gets in power, he's going to do that. He's going to whatever. Want more government. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you're complaining how things are, why do you want more government? And I don't really care what side. I'm not saying, like, I'm not even picking a side here, right? So I don't really give a shit if you're, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, whatever, libertarian, take your pick. I don't care. But, like, why would anyone want more government? That's the thing I am absolutely shocked. Like, blows my mind how anybody can advocate for that, right? And again, listen, this goes across both, right? This goes, like Trump gets in, he's going to fix everything. Kamala gets in, she's going to, like, no, like, it's never going to happen. Like, it's not going to get fixed. Like, why do you want more government to take care of you and your family? Like, and people don't realize that how much they outsource in their lives, right? So, like, if you don't want to know where your food comes from, you're outsourcing that. If you don't want to learn how to protect your family and carry a firearm, or even how to shoot, then you're outsourcing it, right? If you don't want to learn how to repair your car or your home, you're outsourcing it. So, like, I just don't understand. I personally don't want to outsource. I want to outsource as little as possible, literally as little as possible. Okay. I want to have as much control of what directly affects me and my family as I can. And it's crazy to me. I attended a meeting, and I was a little off topic, but I attended a meeting locally here, and they were talking about some impoverished people and this and that, whatever. And I'm just sitting there listening, and they're like, why aren't you saying much? I said, well, it's my first kind of meeting, and I really don't want to kind of rock the boat. I go, but it's shocking to me. And I said, because these government programs, state or federal government or whatever, I said, there's no incentive for them to fix the problem, and the lady in our town was like, what are you talking about? And I said, look, this lady, she could be nice, she could be whatever, say A, right? I said, she gets paid X amount a year, okay, to help impoverished people. That's her job. Now, if she actually solves the problem, because we're a small town and there's really not that many, there's no need for her to have that job anymore. And then she loses the job. So do you really think she's trying to fix it? Like, I can think of 10 better ways that you can fix it and where to put that money, the grant money and stuff like that. I said, how about at a rec center or a church? I said, how about places that actually help people? Like, instead of opening an office on Main Street one day a week that people can come in, if they're not too embarrassed to go in there. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. I said, but she's not incentivized to fix the problem, right? Yeah. Because if she did, she would be out of a job. Yeah. So she's not going to do that. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want that salary to go away. She doesn't want those health benefits to go away. So she's not going to fix the problem. She's going to do just enough to make it look like she's fixing the problem. And that's it. And that's the problem. Like, government, people don't get incentivized to actually do well on performance. That's the thing, right? Like, and that's where I think it gets lost. Like, if you're looking at, like welfare or food stamps or anything like that, the metric shouldn't be, look at how many people we're helping out. That shouldn't be the metric. The metric should be, How can we get as many people off it as possible?
Yes.
It should be, if you're doing your job the right way, you should be getting as little people as possible. I'm not saying that that necessarily shouldn't be there, although I personally don't think it should be there, but because I mean, people forget, like, before really, there was a time in this country where we didn't have a welfare program and we didn't have Social Security. We didn't have any of that stuff. And people were thriving.
Yes.
Thriving. And, everybody's like, well, if you just, if you didn't have that, what would happen? Well, people then would be forced to be accountable, and people would be forced to go actually work, and people would be forced to actually handle their stuff. Like, that's what would happen. Right. And, that's the tough part. And I'm not saying that people don't need help from time to time. Everybody does. I did. There were times in my life I needed help, but I got it from family, or I know people have gotten it from churches, or I know people who have gotten it from, communities. I mean, I raise money all the time for smaller charities that bridge gaps. Like, I did the charity I did yesterday. I was in Connecticut, and they bridge gaps for people, right, in their community that need help, and they're not very specific in terms of what it is. It could be someone lost their job, or it could be for their business, or it could be whatever, but whatever it is, and they help their community where they need it, right? And that is where it should come from.
Mm-hmm.
People have forgotten how to live in communities, right? They're
Yes.
so busy. They're so busy being divided and being like pit against each other, right? Yeah, which is crazy to me. And I don't, I don't get it. And now, living in the country, like where I live, it's communities, like
Yes.
true communities. So, but once you're in like a bigger city or something like that, I mean, it used to be neighborhoods. I mean, that's what they called communities, right? It was our neighborhood, right? Might have been like 5 blocks, might have been 6 blocks, whatever. It didn't matter, right? But now it's just crazy, man. Now it's like, most cities now are like, third world countries, man. Like, you don't even recognize them. It's nuts.
Yeah. The disconnect amongst the population is very real. We are more connected in some ways than we've ever been, yet truthfully further disconnected than ever as well. And as we continue to push more people into these cities, you just see it skyrocketing, right? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we've we've done a terrible enough job long enough of giving handouts and not empowering people, that now people have just become dependent,
Yeah.
and they don't even know they're dependent. And if you try to take away their dependency, they get angry,
Well,
right?
because it's fear, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I posted it the other day, right? I posted it the other day, and I said, if you want to look at the best example of, and you can call it whatever you want. You can call it socialism. You can call it government programming. You can call it whatever. Okay. If you want to take a look at the absolute best example of how socialism and government programs fail in the US, go to an Indian reservation. That's it. Indian reservations, that they have, it's government property. You're getting a government house. You have government health care. You have this, you have that. Government is saying, here, right? We will take care of you. And so many reservations that you go to have these problems with healthcare, with families, with this, with that, whether it's drugs, alcohol, it doesn't matter, right? And it is the perfect example of a government funded social wealth, like socialism, whatever you want to call it. Like, it really is.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, that's not me even saying it. Like, I mean, I've posted clips of like literal tribal leaders and stuff like that saying the exact same thing, testifying in Congress, in congressional hearings, and everything else, right? And nothing changes, which is insane to me. I mean, it's insane to me. Like, it, and that's why I said, like, I don't understand how anybody, most people, if you just give them a taste of empowerment or a taste of success, and I learned this as a coach. if you just give them a taste, most people, it suits them. It gives them that confidence that they didn't have before, and that's part of the reason why I think I kind of really embrace the like wellness side of the business now, right? Because I kind of miss the coaching aspect a little bit in terms of not so much the golf part, but more the interaction part and helping people and being of service and stuff like that. That now I coach people on the wellness side. I coach them on the business side. I show them how to take these things and build their own businesses and build their own brands and stuff like that. And it really is. There's so many people like, I can't do it. I can't. No, yes, you can. Yes, I got a team that will help you. I have a team that'll help you. We have a blueprint on how to do this. We will help you. And once they get a small taste of that, all of a sudden, it's like, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what's missing. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it, right? You have kids that maybe aren't the best in school, okay? But they're great, like with their hands, right? Now that could be woodworking, carpentry, construction, it could be mechanical, right? Could be anything. And instead of most people embracing that and saying, man, you know what? Like going down, like we had a guy, my neighbor did this actually. His kid's great. Like he's like, whiz, like with mechanical stuff. Like, it's insane, right? And, he went down to the local garage and the guy, really couldn't afford, it was just him and his partner. And he goes, listen, he goes, I know you can't really pay him right now. I know you can't do this, but like, do you think he could maybe come down here, help you out, be an apprentice, maybe 10 hours a week or something like that. You know what I mean? Just to get him around that atmosphere, And the guy was like, yeah, and the kid started by doing, just sweeping around the shop and, organizing the tools and doing this and that. And guess what? Now the guy's looking at it. He's like, bro, he goes, he wants his own shop. He wants to be a guy. He's like looking at it. I mean, he embraced it. He didn't tell him.
This thing is so good.
Right. He didn't tell him like, no, that's a waste of time or you shouldn't do. No, he was like, he embraced it. And that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, you give the kid just a little bit, a small taste of that success. And I think the other thing is, which, I didn't touch on before, my dad, when he pushed me, or whether it was my grandfather or even my uncle or whatever, like, they were like, what are you afraid of? Like, to fail? Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you were talking about, like with the work ethic or trying or whatever. It's like, if I wanted to do it and I failed, they weren't like, oh, see, you failed because you're an idiot. Like it was like, I failed. And they're like, okay, so what failed? Like, let's game plan it. Let's run it. Like what failed? Were you strong enough, or were you not fast enough, or were you intimidated, or like what was the, where was the breakdown? Right. And that's the thing. And people don't do that anymore, man. People don't do that. They're so afraid of failing and so afraid, like, it's like this, like there's this stigma, like it's this bad word.
Yeah. Well, the paradigms need to shift. Right?
Yeah.
Language, right?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure. It's only feedback.
Right.
Right. And being able to take that feedback and improve.
Right.
The failure, the only time you fail, in my opinion, is when you quit.
Yeah.
When you quit,
yep,
you have failed. Now, are there times when you take lessons and you have to stop a business? Right?
Yeah.
You quit building that business.
Right.
That isn't a failure per se. That's taking a lesson and making an adjustment and continuing to go.
Right. I mean, hopefully
you fail and then you quit and you don't get back into action. That's definitely when you should beat yourself up a little bit, and so should other people. They should give you some kicks, smarten you back up, slap you out of your stupor, and get the fuck back on your horse. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I did that. I mean, it was funny. I did that with a buddy of mine. So when you had, we were trying to schedule this, and I was telling you I was helping my buddy with his property, and so he bought the property up here. He still lives in the city. He bought a property close to me, and I was helping him. And he was like, kind of fell into this "woe is me" mentality, right? And and I just absolutely like unloaded on him, right? And I was like, what the fuck you mean? I'm like, you're in this situation. I'm like, because you're a moron. You made poor choices. Like, this is the problem. I said, you don't understand this. I said, let's go. Choice by, and I literally was like, see this choice? This is bad. This choice, this is bad. This choice, this was dumb. This is, right? And I'm going through it. And I said, I know your intentions were good. I know this, but here, bam, 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 bam. And my wife's like, and she got done, and he got real quiet. And my wife was sitting there, and she's like, man, she was like, that was brutal, And I go, yeah, but he needed it. And then literally the next day, right, woke up, and I'm like, all right, now let's game plan this. Clean slate, let's go. We started going, and she's like, wow, like he's really more motivated. I said, yeah. I said, because that's just, sometimes you just need, to like another, especially men, right?
Yes.
Especially men. You need a friend of yours. You need that male friend. You need to, you need to be friends with people that are willing to check you, as a guy. That's the thing, right? And I told him, it's funny that, because the podcast, with the abundance, kind of thing and the mindset. And I told him, I said, you went into this like victim, like woe is me mentality. I said, and that's not the mentality. The mentality is you should wake up every day grateful with an abundance mentality that you are going to go out there and kick ass every day. Mm-hmm. Now, are there going to be days you're going to get your ass kicked? Yep. Are there going to be days that are going to be longer than others? Yep. But guess what? It doesn't matter.
Right.
And guys need that from time to time, man. They need to get checked and just.
Yeah. If you love your friend and you don't do it, you're being a bad friend.
Right.
I say it all the time to people. Like you got to be able to hear the feedback from your friends. They should be able to feel confident that they can say whatever they need to say. If you're being a moron, you're doing stupid shit, tell them.
Right.
If they're stuck in a bad place, help them get out, not by joining them in the bad place.
Right.
Acknowledge that they're there. Great. I understand, or I get it that you feel this way and you've been in a trying time. But it's time to turn this around, and you have the choice to do it like that.
Right. And you got to give him the praise when it's a win. That's the other thing, right? Yeah. I mean, he jumped on, like I was doing most of the cutting and stuff like that for, actually knocking down the trees and stuff like that around his property. But he got jumped in this bucket lift, man. And he was, 45, 50, 60 feet in the air limbing this tree. Right. And he had never done that before. He had never done that before. And he was up there for probably a good 2-3 hours, doing it, moving around and everything. And when he got done, and he came down, he goes, and it was funny because he's like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, I know. Like, all right, ha ha ha. Like, what did I do? I said, no, man, you kicked ass. I was like, I got nothing. I was like, bro, you impressed the absolute ever loving shit out of me for jumping in there and doing that. You know what I mean? And he just looked at me. I said, look, man, I said, I'll tell you when you do good. That was impressive. So you have to, it's got to be both sides. But if you're a good friend or you're a good family member, or even if you're a good spouse, or if you're whatever, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to just, again, take stock, be real, take the feedback or give the feedback, because like you said, it's coming out of a place of love. It's not coming out of a place of like, where you're trying to be malicious.
No.
So
I don't want to see you stand there. I want to help you change your life again. Get out of the hole. Let's go make something different of this. Because as long as you're hanging on to that sled of shit full of blame, you're going to be stuck in that place. It's not going to change anything for you by being angry, resentful. It's their fault, not mine. They did this to me, whatever it is. None of that matters. What matters is you. And what matters is your willingness to know that they probably didn't do it to you, intentionally to harm you forever. They're like, people aren't thinking in that way. They're doing the best they can at the time with the resources that they have.
Right. Like nobody cares enough about you, okay, to really just absolutely sabotage you. Like, no, like seriously.
You
Like,
know,
I mean, for the most part, and when I say most part, we're gonna go like 99.9% of the time. Okay. Like nobody cares enough. Okay, because they have their own drama and their own crap going on that they're not taking a break or waking up and going, how could I mess with this dude today? Like that's just not like I don't know anybody who has that kind of mindset, right? Because everybody's got their own crap they got to deal with, especially now, man. People are dealing with so much stuff. You really think anybody's going out of their way? Half the time, if that happens, it's just what, maybe they're just having a bad day too, and you're and you're just caught in the crossfire, like but the victim mentality, like, and I used to tell my kids that. I said, I mean, again, they were college kids, and I'm like, how narcissistic and how egotistical do you have to be? I said, to think that you're so important in someone else's world that they give a shit to sabotage. Like that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Like that's crazy to me.
yeah.
Like, and I said, and that's the thing. I mean, I had a kid, it's funny, you talk about the parents. I had a kid. So a lot of my kids were international, right? And I kind of did that on purpose because I really didn't want to deal with a lot of the parents, right? like, and I had this one kid from England, and he had a rough first year. And one day his mom calls me, right? So I called him to my office, and I basically was like, look, this is an issue. Like, I need you to step up your game. I need you to do this, whatever it was. And his mom ended up calling me. I guess he had vented to her or whatever it was, right? And she's like, could you take it easy on her, or could you do this? Could you do that? Right. So I got off the phone with her, and I called him back into my office, and I said, do you and I have a problem? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, do you and I have a problem? Yes or no? That's all I want to know. Do you and I have a problem? Do you have a problem with me? And he goes, no, coach. Why? I said, then why the fuck is your mother calling me? Right. And he got white. And I said, listen to me. I said, if she calls me again to try to interfere and everything, I said, I will pack your bags myself and send you home. Right. And I said, I know it's hard for you right now. I know that you feel like a fish out of water. I get it. Okay. But I need you to understand how to deal with this as opposed to, I said, you're not home anymore. You don't live at home. You're not, you're like, you're a grown up now. You're right. And the funny part is he went from having such a tough first year to being one of the most integral parts and
Mhm.
leaders of my team, right? I mean, that it was crazy. And he even says it. Like he's like, and the funny part is the mom was like that, right? But the dad was like, oh my God, thank you. Like, thank you for helping him grow up. Thank you for like being, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, he just needed again, and that was the thing. Once he was getting knocked down, knocked down, knocked down. And as a freshman, that's tough. But once he got a small taste of a little bit of success and confidence, the kid turned it all around, and it was like it was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The tough love is important. It really does build a new level of resiliency, strength inside the mind, and we need that kind of leadership at the moment. People need to be able to fail, make mistakes, especially kids,
Yeah.
and we're there to pick them back up, understand their challenge, and encourage the effort, and push them back out there. Try again, go
Right.
again, go again, go again. We're coming up on the hour here, my man. This has
Yeah.
been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate the time. And to wrap this all up, I'd love to have you just share a little bit about what you're doing on the health side. So if there's anybody in our audience that is watching that has some health challenges or things they'd like to improve in their lives, that they have a way to reach out to you.
Yeah. So, you can find me. Probably the easiest way would be on Instagram. I would think it's just so it's
I'll,
MFM.
I'll go find your Instagram here and I'll share it.
Oh, and link it. Yeah, there you go. MFMLIDES. So basically, what I do is the two main things that I focus on. So first off is obviously everybody has some kind of pain or their body is somewhat out of balance, whether you're talking about hormones or anything like that. So I use, you may see on, some of these little patches and stuff that I wear. They're a product from a company called LifeWave. They're all holistic, non-invasive, no chemicals, none of that stuff. And what they do is each patch does something different, but the main one, the X39, which I wear every day, helps to repair and regenerate your body's own stem cells to help bring your body back into balance. And that helps with a lot of things. It helps with energy. It helps with pain. It helps with recovery. It helps with sleep. It helps with, cognitive function. So it's pretty impressive, and it's pretty low cost actually, which is great. And then for hydration, which is also one of the building blocks, obviously, or one of the most important things for your body. I also sell what's called Kangen water. It's a K8 machine. It is everybody kind of is on this craze about hydrogenated water, and that's great. What the Kangen machine does, it doesn't only hydrogenate the water, it also alkalizes the water to a pH of 9.5, which is, for lack of a better term to put it, like medical grade water. It's water that all the hospitals in Japan use and stuff like that. The company's been around for like 50 years. It is phenomenal. I mean, your body will thank you. It is the best water that you can literally take into your body. We've had people that, and again, I'm not a doctor and I don't pretend to be, and I'm not trying to diagnose or anything like that, but we've had people with both products that we use where they've had their eczema is cleared up and other kind of, issues that they've had, pain, inflammation, stuff like that. So if you want to, if you find yourself that you're in that boat, or if you just want to also get healthier and maybe even make some money, reach out to me. I mean, we have people, we got people in both companies that are doing, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month, doing this stuff. And, you're working from home and you can retire and take care of your family as well and be healthier. So, I mean, what's better than that?
Nothing better than that, in my opinion. To work from home around the people you love and provide value to the world, helping people change their lives, empowering them to get back out there.
That's it.
I worked in the health and wellness world for over a decade, and I loved fighting against big pharma. Really is how I thought of it. I was helping people get away from the chemical interventions and reclaim their health, because the body wants to heal itself. It wants to be in a great state. And my personal belief is we're not sick. We're poisoned. We are being poisoned.
You just got to give it. You just got to give it what it needs, And I work with like a lot of veterans too and stuff like that, right? And like the VA, I mean, that's what it is, right? They go like this. They go, okay, so doc, I'm feeling this. Okay, take this pill. Yeah. Okay, so this is better, but now I have this. Oh, okay, so then take this pill. And then, okay, well, that fixed that, but now I have this. And then by the end of it, like, these guys are taking like 20 pills a day. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And the funny part is it's amazing talking to these people. Like, I'll turn them on to this stuff, or they'll try it, or they'll do it, and they'll use it and everything else. And they're like, bro, like, what? Like, I feel like I'm, like 25 again. Or I feel like I'm like, yeah. I was like, it's crazy. Like, your body, like you said, your body, you're not sick. You're poisoned, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is happening to most everybody today, and we start the poison train when mommy is carrying the baby, and it just continues to escalate from there. So it's we got a battle ahead of ourselves, right? And when you remember that Big Pharma's business is all about taking care of sick people, to them, the earlier they can have someone be sick, the more money they can make.
Oh, without a doubt.
We're all about gathering customers,
and they get them now from kids.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, that's the thing. They've got them as kids now. Like, literally, I mean, the rise in autism, the rise in autoimmune disease, the rise in allergies, the rise in, I mean, it is crazy.
Crazy. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole other show we could get deep into with our tinfoil hats on.
We can.
I love having those conversations.
Anytime you want, we can go down that rabbit hole too. I'm good.
All right, outstanding, brother. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate your time. It's great to actually chat in person now instead
Right.
of through some chat messages on the messenger. But
Yep.
we're very aligned. Congratulations on your success as a pro athlete and the differences that you're making through charity work there. Always love that. And now in your new adventures in the health and wellness world, I wish the best and I'm cheering for you, man. So
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking again real soon. Okay.
Yeah, man. I'd love to do it again anytime you want.
All right. Outstanding.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, man. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to another show,
Yes.
Seeds of Abundance. We'll be back again here real soon. I think our next episode will be featuring Joel Salatin, the world's most famous farmer. So
No.
look forward to that coming next week. Have an
Very
amazing day, everybody.